Наш брифінг присвячений викриттю брехні.
Greetings. Our briefing is devoted to exposing the lies of propaganda and fakes of the aggressor state. And let's start with the inconvenience that Russian propagandists have thrown in through the media controlled by the Russian government. So they claim that in schools in the territory controlled by Ukrainian authorities, ads asking children to report about their parents, that is, inform the school administration if their parents do not support President Zelensky, do not support the Ukrainian authorities, or advocate for Russia. But at the same time, as always, Russian propagandists failed because of a banal misunderstanding of the Ukrainian language. And the fake photo that they spread contains elementary errors. The spelling of the words was incorrect and the tense of the verb was wrong. And such a mistake indicates that Russian propagandists are simply trying, through such throw-ins, to create the narrative for the Russians themselves about the seemingly anti-human nature of Ukrainian authorities. And of course, that is not true. Russian propagandists are also looking for an excuse for their own failure during the counteroffensive by the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kharkiv direction. Multi-million telegram channels, such as Soviov, spread the throw-in, as if during the counterattack a third of warriors of the armed forces of Ukraine were foreigners. So, literally, they claim that every third soldier in the offensive group of the whole front line near Kharkiv was a foreigner from a NATO country. This information is not only from Russian sources, claims Soviov. Even Western media write about it. In fact, the well-known media South Front. End of quote. What is South Front? It is a fake news broadcaster established from a Russian website that is published in English. At the same time, according to a special project of the European Union to combat disinformation, this media publishes news that loyally retell everything that suits the Kremlin. Why Russian propagandists make these throw-ins? Because they cannot find another explanation for their own failure in the Kharkiv direction and invented the myths about the allegedly NATO soldiers who committed this counteroffensive. This is a total lie. At the same time, Russian propagandists are angry at Russian citizens for their passive support for the war against Ukraine. So again, Soviov publishes a post from a Russian telegram channel of Vladlen Tatarsky, in which he was angry that the Russians are not actively involved in the implementation of wood harvesting necessary for the front line. I am ashamed, Soviov and Tatarsky write. I do not know how to stop seeing this. Russian girls in Belgorod prepare wood for the construction of fortifications, while men are busy not by the war, but with something more important in their opinion. I am ashamed very much. What to say about it? The fact that in the Russian society discontent with this war, which they themselves unleashed, is growing. This benefits Ukrainians, and we will support the anti-war mood in Russia. At the same time, the effective counteroffensive, as well as the subsequent visit of President Zelensky to Izium, which was liberated as a result of this operation, causes Russian propagandists to have double feeling. On one hand, they claim that this operation was carried out by the so-called mercenaries of NATO. On the other hand, they pay tribute to the fact that the Ukrainian military and political leadership is bold and not afraid to do what Putin is afraid of doing. That is, Putin does not go to the front line, whereas the Ukrainian leadership does it. I want to add, writes Solovyev, quoting telegram channel Starsha Ed, Zelensky's visit to Izium has even more buffed the morale of the entire armed forces of Ukraine. Well, what to say? People can do well the public relations. We also need to vow to the courage of the enemy. Why they do it? Because the following sentence, the Russian propagandist declares the need to strike critical infrastructure in Ukraine. This was done in Kryvyi Rih. That is, by their actions, they themselves signed on their crimes against humanity and against ordinary civilians. And I end my briefing with a traditional call to trust the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian political and military leadership. See you.
До зустрічі.